Dennis. This is the cookout case from Lexington, and I gave a little spiel about that, but I'm in no position to best my friend, Mr. Hubbard over here. Solicitor Hubbard actually tried the case, so I would ask you, if you don't mind, telling me a little bit
I
about
appreciate it, because I can listen to these guys. Y'all understand why my colleagues are traveling all over, and you can see why. They're passionate, and so am I. But what's going on is in this county too. Kieran Dennis, just a 19-year-old kid, stabs Devon Capers in the chest, an 18-year-old kid at cookout. We get so many cases like this. But Kieran Dennis had Todd Rutherford. We go all roundabout with bond hearings, bond violations. We weren't going to be able to revoke his bond. Many times as this guy ignored what the judge told him to do. Finally, 4 years after the stabbing, which happened February 2014, 4 years later in 2018, I'm like, Judge, for God's sake, we need a trial date. I got to try this guy. We got to try him. So the judge in March says, you know what? I know Mr. Rutherford's protected from January to July, but in March, he says, I'm going to send out an email. And sends an email to me and to Todd Rutherford. And says, I'm going to give you a choice of 2 dates in October when you're free. October 15th or the 29th. Pick. I immediately respond, either one. I'll be there. Rutherford says, October 15th works for me. That's his email response. July, we make sure the judge puts it in the form of an order. Both parties agree this will be October 15th by consent of both parties. I get a copy, Mr. Rutherford gets a copy. That's in July. September, I send a letter. Hey, just a reminder for you, next month, show up in court. We got a trial. The day after my letter goes out, my colleague who's helping me sends an email. Hey, Mr. Rutherford, remember, the trial's next month. If you need anything, logistically, we'll help you. October 1st, now it's the month for trial. My colleague sends an email to him and says, hey, we understand you want an out-of-state witness. We've already helped you. We got your out-of-state subpoenas. We've located your witness. We can get him here from Alaska. He's in the military. We'll get him here for you. 3 days later, October 4th, I get an email from the judge. Here's a motion for a continuance. Mr. Rutherford says he didn't know there was going to be a trial. I'm like, I want a hearing in a courtroom. I want a hearing in the courtroom. Well, guess who could not come into court that week or the next week? In fact, it was after the trial date before we had a hearing on the continuance, October 24th. I go in there and I have the family. Talk about victims. This family is dying. The dad worked at Herndon Chevrolet. He would see the defendant drive by every day. Every day. And he kept saying, why should I trust you? I'm like, hang on, it'll be all right. They're there in the courtroom with me. My witnesses, a bunch of young kids who saw the murder, are there, learning about this system that we have. Is it fair? They're there. Guess who's not there? Todd Rutherford. About an hour plus goes by. Finally, he shows up. And he comes in and he says, Judge, like I said, I didn't know anything about this case. I've got other stuff to do. I can't try it, so you're just going to have to continue. I respond by saying, let me show you some emails, Judge. His response to your email. Todd cuts me off. He is so angry. He stands up and screams at me in open court. Sit down and shut up. Is what I hear from a fellow attorney. Anybody else would go to jail for that. Anybody else. The judge goes, well, maybe I sent that email in May to the wrong address. Oh. And I said, well, you know what? Maybe you did, but a miracle occurred because Todd Rutherford answered it. And, the judge did. And I don't blame him. And he continued the case. And y'all have heard about how long it takes to get him in court? A year later before I can try him. We tried him, convicted his man, but 5 years. My victims, it took everything they could do all the control they had not to take matters in their own hands. And one of the kids, who was one of my witnesses at that stabbing, comes up to me and goes, "This is BS. I'm never going to appear in court." I couldn't get him after that. I lost a witness. They said, "This system is BS." That is Lexington. That is in our backyard. This is just one little snapshot of what's going on, and I am absolutely livid.
Who is the judge?
I told the judge I wouldn't tell because, and here's why.
Makes a difference.
He is a good judge.
We only got
What-
one, don't we?
Well, I will tell you this. Here's why. The judges know there's probably no chance in hell the system's going to change. And they know what happened to Chrissy Harrington, and there's several others, Tommy Russo and some others that are gone. And they basically are apologetic. Just look, this isn't the day to fight that. You're going to get your day in court. It's just going to be a year later. That's Lexington. Thank you.
Those judges struggle with this just like we
They
do.
hate
can't
it.
say it, but they're just like Christy Herring, just like Rick said.
Our judges support what we're doing quietly. They will not speak publicly. One, judges don't do that, but two, they know that'll be the end of their career.
And